Hello and welcome to another live broadcast here in the Authentic Married Woman. I hope everyone's having a great day so far. I'm very excited to come on today and talk about why doing things that are easy makes your marriage hard. And I tried to do this video twice on Saturday and had technological difficulties that I didn't get figured out. So I'm back on doing this again, and that the fact that that happened is so perfect given what we are going to talk about today, and embracing the reality of life, embracing the ups and downs, knowing that that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. That when we embrace the ups and downs in life, the challenges that come our way, then that's where we learn, that's where we grow, that's where we build value within ourselves and become strong and know who we are. And we want to talk about that today in relationship to marriage. So for those of you who are new to the group and maybe just tuning in to a live video for the first time, my name is Karen Seitz, and I'm the curator for the Authentic Married Woman and the administrator. And I'm also a coach and a mentor for married women to teach them how to find themselves again, to teach you how to build a relationship with yourself and become the source of your own happiness so you can take that burden off of your husband and off of your marriage, wanting your husband or your marriage to make you happy, and learning how to find that within yourself, which helps you to solve the issues in your marriage and create the marriage that you always wanted. So that's what I have the honor of doing each and every day. And I guess a good place to start is reminding you of the three principles that set the framework for our Facebook group, and they set the framework for what I teach other women. And these are the principles that I'm living in my own life and bringing into my own marriage so that I can continue to grow and learn. And these are going to fit in so well with what we are talking about today, and why doing things that are easy make your marriage hard. So the first principle is that you are 100% responsible for your happiness, that no one can make you happy. Your husband can't make you happy. Your kids can't make you happy. Your job. We can have a happy experience of ourselves in those relationships, but in order to be truly happy on the inside, that is something we must do for ourselves. And I think it's really good to understand what it actually means to be happy. I used to think that being happy meant feeling happy all the time, being positive all the time, always having a smile on my face. And when I thought that that was being happy, I was really faking it so much and exhausted because happiness felt like something that had to constantly be maintained. This level of energy had to be maintained, constantly being in a good mood, constantly being positive, constantly feeling happy. And happy began to feel like a burden. Now I have a much different understanding of what it means to be happy. And it means a deep acceptance of yourself and your life, that you only want to be you and you only want the life that you have, even with the challenges, even with the struggles, and problems that you might be facing in your life. When you are happy on the inside, you just want to be you and you just want the life that you have. And the only person that can do that for you is yourself. So the second principle is that you are the only person you can change. And this is something we all know, but we lose sight of, because we get lost in the chaos and the drama and the blame of our marriages and put the focus on our husbands and the things that they're doing or not doing, that we want them to change, thinking that will change our experience for us. But what I know absolutely to be true, and what my clients learn and live on a daily basis, is you really are the only person you have any control over to change. And when you put the focus on changing yourself, using the right tools and the right strategies, then you begin to change yourself, and then you begin to experience change in your external world, but it has to start with you, which is vulnerable because that means we have to go first. We have to trust that if we change in the right ways with the right tools and the right strategies, that how we experience our husbands, how we experience our lives will begin to change. And we're scared to be vulnerable because we're scared if we do that and it doesn't work, that we might get hurt. But we've got to do that hard work. We have to put in that hard work to change in order to experience that change externally. And we're going to talk more about that today. The third principle is that what it means to be an authentic married woman, or just to be an authentic woman, period. It's about having a relationship with yourself, feeling good about who you are, knowing who you are, understanding yourself, and not just all the good things. But in order to have a relationship with ourselves, we also have to look at the underbelly of who we are. We have to look at our limitations and the unhealthy choices we make, and the behavior patterns that we keep ourselves stuck in, the stories that we've carried around our whole lives. In order to build a relationship with yourself and know who you are, you have to understand those parts of yourself too, and that's where the hard work comes in. It's easy to focus on the good things and think positive thoughts um, and put our focus there. But in order to have a relationship with ourselves, we have to know all of ourselves, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when we can do that, then we can show up as who we are and be vulnerable, which allows us to drop our walls and let the people we love in our lives, like our husbands, in, and we begin to change our experience. So the key, I would say, the foundation to everything that this group is about and everything that I teach, the foundation is really learning to have a relationship with yourself. Because if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, then it's impossible to have a healthy relationship with anyone else. And we lose sight of that. So um, we're going to talk more in depth about those as we get into the content for today. So let's dive right in. So my inspiration for coming on and doing this video and talking about why we've got to do the hard work, that we have to roll our sleeves up and change ourselves and look at ourselves, is one, I love talking about this. This is probably something that my clients hear 1,000 times over and over again working with me, understanding the reality of life, understanding the ups and downs. And the other inspiration to come on and talk about this today came from the quote that I posted in the group last week. And the quote is, "Everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you are climbing it." So I'm going to read that again. Everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you are climbing it. So to start this off, let's talk a little bit about what that means. And I've got a little visual that I like to use, that I've been using for a long time, that's very simple, but allows us to understand where we get lost, and where we get caught up trying to make our marriage look a certain way or expecting it to be a certain way without the challenges, without the ups and downs. And real quick before we get into that and into that visual, the myth that we are busting today is that someday you can get to a place where things are easy and your marriage is in flow. So again, someday you can get to a place where things are easy and your marriage is in flow, or you can apply that to your life, that someday you can get to this place in your life where everything is easy and always in flow. And that's what I was always trying to conquer and go after in my own life. And it was such a trap. And it was so disappointing. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me because I was fighting against the very nature of life. Yes, sometimes things are in flow and going great, but that it's a fantasy to think that that can last forever, and that somehow we're going to get to a place where that's our marriage all the time, where you're always on the same page with your husband, and you're always agreeing on things, and things are just in flow, and you finally got there, that kind of elusive there that we're always trying to get to. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't exist. That if you want the happiness in your marriage, and you want the loving, intimate relationship that you've always craved, then you have to be willing to embrace the hard work and understand that sometimes things are going to be uncomfortable. And you're going to hit challenges that you weren't expecting. Life and your marriage are going to throw you curveballs. And when you can embrace those things and do the hard work, that's where you begin to build that inner happiness, wanting your life, wanting to be you, because in embracing those challenges and embracing those ups and downs, that's where you build self-value. That's where you start to feel really good about yourself, and where you get to know who you are and have that relationship with yourself. And from that place, everything changes. Your marriage changes, your life changes, all your relationships change when you embrace that reality, when you embrace the discomfort and embrace the challenges. That's where the growth happens. That's where the happiness happens. So let me get to that visual. So let me pull up my whiteboard here. So what we fantasize about, and what we really want a relationship or a marriage to look like, or what we really want our life to be like, is that we want it to just keep getting better and better and better, and constantly be on this upward trajectory of things just always get better, and notice there are no bumps along the way, that it's just this upward ride. And we want it to look like that. Or we want to get to a place where things are just like steady Eddie. So that's supposed to be a straight line. So we want to get to this place where everything is neat and tidy, and there's no bumps in the road, that everything, like I said, is steady Eddie. And this is maybe what we would call being in flow. And we finally get there, and everything is great in our marriage. There's no fights, no challenges, and most of us know that that's a total fantasy, and it's not the reality of a relationship, and that conflict is going to happen, and it's necessary to get to a place of resolution to be able to have conflict. But we tell ourselves, like, we'll just get to a place where things are easy, and there's no bumps, there's no ups and downs, or things just keep getting better. And when we strive for this, ladies, so let me just put this up here. So both of these are fantasies. This doesn't exist. This is not the reality of a marriage. This is not the reality of a life. This is not what it's going to look like, and it can't. And the more we try to make our marriage look like this, just this constant getting better, always on the upswing, or just getting everything neat and tidy and everything is good and we're in flow. When we strive for this, this is where we get those negative experiences of ourselves in our marriage, in our life. We either fake it, when we're trying to make our marriage look like one of these. We either fake it and we shove all the challenges out, and all the negative or hard things about our life or our marriage out. We just push them aside and pretend they don't exist, which then leads to us feeling like we're a fraud, because deep down inside, we know we're pretending. We know we're shoving everything under the rug. We know we're not dealing with what we need to deal with. Or on the flip side, we try to make our marriage look like this, or we try to make our lives look like this, and it doesn't, because it can't, because that's not the reality. And we're going to talk about the reality in just a minute. But it doesn't look like this. And we're fighting against the nature of life, and what the reality of a marriage is, and the reality of life. So we become really bitter. We become very resentful. We feel like, why me? Everybody else has these perfect marriages and perfect lives. Why can't I have that? So instead of being happy, we create a deep unhappiness. So if happy means just wanting to be you and just wanting the life that you have, then unhappy is wishing you were someone else, and wishing you had a different life. So when we're constantly trying to make our marriage look like this one, just things constantly getting better, or we try to make it look like this, and it doesn't exist, and it can't exist, that's where we're just constantly disappointed. and feel constantly let down because it's not what we envisioned it to be. It's not what we expected. And so from that place, we begin to feel trapped. We begin to feel like there's no way out. We feel like we're all alone, that our husband doesn't understand us, that others don't understand us. This is where we get into a place when we're trying to make our marriage look like these, ladies. This is where we get into a place of feeling like roommates, because in trying to make our marriage look steady Eddie, or constantly getting better and better and better with no dips and no challenges, this is where we hide in our comfort zone. We're not willing to rock the boat because we don't want to disturb what we want it to be. And this is where we get into a comfort zone. And when we get into a comfort zone, that's where we begin to feel like roommates. This isn't what we think it's going to be. It actually sabotages what we want, and it doesn't allow us to grow, and it doesn't allow us to cultivate that happiness. So this is where we feel like roommates. This is where you maybe get a robotic or non-existent sex life. And the biggest thing I experienced in trying to make my marriage look like one of these fantasies was feeling like there was something wrong with me. Because even though I was really good at faking it and really good at pretending everything was wonderful, and that my marriage looked like one of these fantasies, on the inside, I knew I was pretending. I knew I was faking, and that it didn't feel like what I thought it should feel like. And my life didn't look, and my marriage didn't look like I thought it should look like. And so I began at a very deep level, and one that I pushed away. I didn't want to know about myself, as I began to feel like there was something wrong with me. And why can't why can't I get it together? Why do I get it going for a little bit, and then I face plant, or these challenges come up, and I'm facing the same problems over and over again, and it just feels like we're just on this hamster wheel, never getting anywhere. It's like we make some progress and then we fall down, and life happens, and we feel like there's something wrong with us, because we think it shouldn't be that way. We think there shouldn't be the dips. So let's talk about the reality. Let's talk about what it really looks like, and what you actually have to embrace in order to find your happiness within, in order to create the marriage that you want. And yes, you have the capacity to do that within yourself. Remember, that second principle is the only person you can change is yourself. And when you work on yourself and you embrace the climb, and you embrace working on your own happiness and taking responsibility for your happiness, then that's where you get the life that you want. That's where you make different choices to create the life that you want and create the marriage that you want. And that's a whole new way to look at things, because we often look at marriage as being 50-50, and how come it's all up to me? How come I have to do the work? Well, what we teach and what our message is that when you're a woman and you have your walls up, because when we have these expectations, when we have these fantasies of what we want marriage to look like, or what we want life to look like, and then it doesn't, we begin to put our walls up and we begin to protect ourselves from being hurt, and from heartbreak or rejection, and all the pains that we've experienced in life. So we begin to put our walls up. And when you're married to a good man, and we define a good man as a good man who is good intentioned at heart. His very core, he is loving, kind, and thoughtful. He's hardworking, he's responsible, he's trustworthy. And in order to see that about your husband, you must look back to the man that you chose to marry, the man that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, and think back on who that man was. You might not be experiencing him in those ways that I just described right now, um, because you had your walls up and have pushed him away. And so he's withdrawn from the relationship, and he might be doing what we call stupid or hurtful things. Um, and when you learn to take your walls down and you're with a good man, and you learn to have that relationship with yourself, you learn to embrace the ups and downs, you learn to cultivate that inner happiness, then a good man will re-engage and he will step up with you. And I know that can sound sometimes too good to be true, but that is exactly what happens, because good men want to be there. They want to be good providers. They want to be caring. They want to be thoughtful. All they want for you is they just want you to be happy. So when you do that for yourself and you drop your walls and you do the work to change, they begin to step up with you. And again, the hard part is you've got to go first to experience that. And you've got to be guided and taught how to do that in a way that is constructive. in order for it to really work. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too. So, okay, I keep getting off on some tangents. But here's the reality when you embrace the ups and downs. So the reality of life and marriage is that it looks like this. There are ups and downs. This is just, you can call this the reality of life and the reality of marriage or relationships. This is what it looks like. And when we want it to look like either of those fantasies, the straight up line or the straight across line, that's where we feel let down. Again, that's where we feel trapped in our marriages. We feel like there's no way out. We feel all alone. We fall into the roommate trap. But when we can embrace this and know this is what it's supposed to look like, then we can begin to climb that mountain and in that cultivate happiness and cultivate growth. And then that up and down journey looks like this. Sometimes a little difficult to draw with my mouse, but you can see you still get things start getting better and better and better because you're willing to climb the mountain. You're willing to go and through the tough times, you're willing to embrace the hard things in life and roll your sleeves up and say, okay, what is life here to teach me right now? That if there's anything we can know for sure, is that life, marriage, relationships, day-to-day life is going to throw us curveballs. And we've got two choices, ladies. We can be a victim to those curveballs and challenges and disempower ourselves and think life is unfair, marriage is unfair, our husband doesn't get us. We can point the finger, we can blame and think that it's our husband that's the problem, or our boss, or our kids, or our family, whatever it might be, and be a victim to the challenges, to be a victim to the ups and downs. And that's the easy way. Quite frankly, it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to blame. It's easy to say life is unfair. I always get the short end of the stick. And that makes our lives so hard because when you are blaming and you're pointing the finger, you trap yourself. There's no way to change. There's no way to get out of it because you're waiting for your external circumstances to change in order for life to get easier or your marriage to get easier. So it's easy to fall into that trap, but it's that trap that makes life so hard. It's that trap that makes marriage feel so hard because, again, you can't change your husband and you can't change anyone or anything else outside of you. You only have the power to change yourself. So that's one choice we have. We can play the victim. We can say life is unfair. And we can constantly look at what's going on, what our husband's doing or not doing. Or we can be the victor and we can rise to the challenges and we can roll our sleeves up and say, okay, what do I need to learn here? What is life trying to teach me? Or what is God trying to teach me? What do I need to learn? And why is this here for me in order to be able to grow? And then we can embrace and climb the mountain. And that's how we cultivate our happiness. Because again, that's how you're going to get to know who you are. That's going to be how you learn to believe in yourself and see what you are made of. That's where you're going to feel really empowered. Because when you make this climb and say, say you're making this climb and you're doing a really good job embracing the challenges and growing and learning, and then you hit a bump and you come down here. This is where we recommit to ourselves and we roll our sleeves up and we climb back up and say, okay, what's life here to teach me? What do I need to learn? What choices and decisions am I making that I'm here so that we can take responsibility? And then when we do that, then we begin to grow and we climb back up here. And every time we get back up here, this is where you feel good about yourself. You know what you're made of. You believe in yourself. You learn to take care of yourself, meaning you learn to embrace the challenges. You learn to do what you know you need to do, even when you don't want to do it. And this is where you feel good about yourself. This is where you build a relationship with yourself. And that's exactly what that quote was talking about. Everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you are climbing it, that we can't be on top of the mountain without the dips. And this is where we find our strength, and it's in pulling ourselves back up again that we find our happiness and we find our growth. So when we're willing to embrace this down here as the reality of life and then use that as a catalyst to grow and change in life, that's where you become happy. That's where you have that relationship with yourself. And here's what you get in your marriage. From this place, when you're taking that responsibility for your happiness and you're embracing this reality, this is where you're going to see your husband in a whole new light, because you're going to drop all those expectations you have on him. You're going to stop trying to change him because you're going to put your focus and energy where it really counts, into yourself. Um, this is where you begin to drop your walls and let your husband back in, and then he can show up as the man he wants to show up as, and he'll be excited to see you. This is where he just adores you. Like I said, good men just want us to be happy. And ladies, when we truly are happy and our walls are down, they light up. One of my mentors, Peggy, says it's like they just melt. And it's so true. I experience it almost on a daily basis in my own marriage. And this is what my clients begin to experience as well. This is where you have energy for your life, energy to go after your own dreams, to make time for yourself, to do the things that you know you love to do that make you happy. Um, this is where you feel alive and vibrant. When you embrace the ups and downs and you stop fighting them, this is where you feel alive. This is where life is exciting and fulfilling. You feel connected to yourself, and therein you feel connected to your husband and your other relationships. It all comes from embracing the hard work and rolling your sleeves up and diving into life, diving into the challenges in your marriage. That's where it comes from, and that's the hard work. The hard work that we need to start facing. I meant to talk about this a little bit earlier, but it works now too. But like I said, the title of this is when we do the easy things, we get a hard marriage and we get a hard life, because we're trying to avoid the hard things that make us uncomfortable, that push us to climb this mountain, and embrace that reality, embrace the ups and downs. So some of the things that I know in myself, and working with other women for a long time, the things I see over and over again, some of the hard work that we avoid is being responsible for our emotional state and our moods. Um, we want our husbands to understand us and take care of us emotionally, and they can't. If I don't understand myself emotionally and I don't know how to take charge of my emotional state, and that doesn't mean just stuffing and pretending to be happy. It means being honest when you're not in good space, and being honest when you're being emotional, and then knowing what to do for yourself there, knowing how to support yourself and pull yourself back up. That's not our husband's jobs, that's our jobs. So we avoid doing that, and we put that responsibility on our husbands. We avoid taking care of ourselves, meaning making time for ourselves and doing the things we need to do that make us happy and cultivate a rich, fulfilling life for ourselves. We avoid doing that. We say we're too busy, that the kids' schedules are too much, that we don't have time. And when we push that away, that's where we get really bitter and really resentful. Again, it's the easy thing to say, I don't have time, and to be in that place of being a martyr, of I've got to do it all. That's where we run ourselves out, and we're constantly moving through our lives, moving through our marriages on empty. Um, we need to make the time, make ourselves a priority, find the time, create the time, which is, it takes hard work. We avoid having tough conversations, and finding resolution. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. So we avoid finding resolution and having those tough conversations. We avoid taking responsibility, and we get caught in the blame game. And we avoid dropping our walls. We avoid learning what we need to do to resolve the hurt and heartbreak that we've experienced in our lives that have caused us to guard ourselves and caused us to put our walls up. But when we embrace these things, when we learn to be responsible for our moods, when we learn to take care of ourselves and make time for ourselves and make ourselves a priority, when we learn to have constructive, tough conversations, when we learn to take responsibility and stop blaming and get out of victim, when we learn to drop our walls, that's where we begin to climb that mountain. And that's where we cultivate our happiness. And that's the hard work that we have to do and that we have to embrace. and roll up our sleeves and do. And then you get the marriage that you wanted. And if you're with a good man and you're doing that hard work, he's going to step up with you. That's how it works. So, and wrapping up today, I guess I want to say is that you have a choice now. What do you want? Do you want to keep doing the easy things that cause you to have a really hard life and have a hard marriage, stay stuck in the blame game, stay stuck in your resentment, pointing the finger outward, and fighting the reality of life and trying to make it one of those fantasies where it's just constantly up or just steady Eddie, and make yourself miserable in that because you're not embracing reality? Or do you want a path to follow? Do you want to learn how to take responsibility for your happiness and learn to embrace the reality of marriage, that it takes hard work and that it's going to ebb and flow, and learn how to navigate your life, navigate yourself, and navigate your marriage? And if that's what you want, then I can help you. I often make the joke to some of my clients that when I was starting out doing this work that I teach now in my own marriage, I was out in the wilderness, so to speak, and I was bushwhacking a terrain of wild plants and paths, and there was no clear-cut path. I had the support of my mentors, but I had to do the hard work. I had to figure it out. And in doing that, I've created a clear-cut path. I've created a game plan and a strategy and a roadmap to having a happy you and having a happy marriage. So if that's what you want, then I can help you. I can help you see the step-by-step strategy that you need to get out of the roommate cycle with your husband, to get out of the rut that you're experiencing in your marriage or your life, and show you the way. So if that's what you want, then I want you to go to, I'm going to have to put this on the whiteboard because I'm not sure where else to put it. But I want you to go to anewlc.com/talk, and you can book a free breakthrough call with me, and we'll spend an hour together helping you see what's really going on in your marriage, what's keeping you stuck, what's keeping you in that roommate cycle, what's keeping you in that rut, and then helping you see what you need to do and formulating a step-by-step game plan for you to be thriving in your marriage and your life, and for you to be happy and to be the woman that you always wanted to be. So you can go again to anewlc.com/talk and book a free breakthrough call with me. I would love to chat with you, and show you where you need to be putting your focus and energy and help you see a way out and to help you see that clear path forward. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm hopeful that this video will work this time around. That was one of me embracing the hard things, like when this video didn't turn out in the Facebook group on Saturday. It was like, okay, there was nothing I could do about that. I can't control technology, but I can embrace the challenges, and that's what I did, and learned and grew from it. So very happy to be here today and sharing this with you. So thanks for being here, and I will see you all very soon. All right, bye.